So welcome everybody to Webclass Wednesday, and to everybody live in the room, welcome. We love having the energy of everybody live, and for those of you who are listening to the recording, welcome to a Webclass Wednesday live replay. So tonight what I wanted to cover was a little bit about the starting point before you write your book. So a lot of people start with the blank screen. They're not aware that there's a few things they want to become more familiar with about their book before they actually write their book. And so with a whole bunch of years experience and a lot of questions and a lot of answers, I really determined that there were what I call the 5 pillars of the Pathways to Publishing Academy, which is create, write, design, promote, and publish. And every question you have are going to fall underneath one of those 5 categories. But at the end of the class, I will give you the download to the Author Success GPS, which is a 26-page interactive document, PDF, and you'll have all of that information. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right at the beginning, what I call the 5 magic questions, W5. What are the 5 magic questions? So I'm just going to share my screen here for a second. Make sure I've got what I need. Okay, so this is what I call the Author Success GPS. So this is the document that you're going to get, okay? And now let me just, oh my goodness, let me just share my screen to give you, I'm going to just scroll down. I'm going to go past. What you're going to get here is all of what I talked about, the 5 pillars, but we're just going to start with W5, which is what I call the 5 magic questions. Okay, so the first signpost along your book writing journey is actually not the writing of the book. Surprise, surprise. So yes, your mindset, but that being important, you want to know a little bit about this book that you're writing. So I often refer to Neville Goddard. He's a writer from earlier on in the century, and he has a quote that I love. It's from a passage in his book Awakened Imagination, which was written in 1954, and it's called "Begin with the End in Mind." Okay, so you must imagine yourself right into the state of your fulfilled desire. The world which we describe from observation must be as we describe it relative to ourselves. Our imagination connects us with the state desired, but we must use imagination masterfully, not as an onlooker thinking of the end, but as a partaker thinking from the end. We must actually be there in our imagination, and if we do this, our subjective experience will be realized objectively. This is not mere fancy, but a truth you can prove by experience. The secret is thinking from the end. Every state is already there as mere possibility, as long as you think of it, but is overpoweringly real when you think from it. So what does that mean? Well, I have a book, and I have a book idea, and I even have some things written about my book, but the book itself and your imagination really needs a little bit more guidance than that. And to get to the end, to think from the end in mind, I determined that the 5 most powerful questions that you can ask yourself and answer will take care of all the overwhelm, all the misinformation, and every single excuse and alibi that you have for not writing the book. Why? Because now you know with crystal clarity your who, your what, your where, your when, and your why. And your why, of course, is probably the most important part of the equation, but I'll just read from here. I know it sounds counterintuitive because the book is not just about writing the book, but the magic of you becoming an author is found when you dial it back and ask yourself the following 5 questions. It's not how to write a book. That's the significant first step. It's determining the inspiration that will serve to stimulate and motivate you, solidify your commitment, and drive you to take action that will produce momentum and results. You must first make the decision to write your book. How do you do this? By answering these 5 magic questions. Okay, so in the Author Success GPS that you're going to download later, and you'll see each one of these questions has an interactive box. So when you download it, you'll be able to use this as a working document. You can print it if you want, right in the boxes, or you can work with it right on your computer and type into the boxes. And once you answer these 5 questions, and we're going to go through what all of those mean, you're going to now know exactly what your book is about. You're going to know all the details about your book that most of the time you're not paying so much attention to, because you're thinking all of the reasons of how I can write this book, but you're not really clear on all the details that make up the book. So this exercise will get you there, and it'll get you there pretty quickly. So W5, the first question, right? Who? Who will read your book? So who's your target audience? Who's your target reader? Is yours a biography, a heritage book that will chronicle somebody's life story for the family's legacy? Is it a book of fiction that will unleash the imagination of the reader, allow you to put your best fantasies to page? Is it a nonfiction book that's aimed at helping others overcome their challenges by reading about your struggles and triumphs? Is it a book that will compile your professional expertise and enlighten the reader with pitfalls to avoid and strategies? Is it a children's book with stories and illustrations? So the first thing you want to do is you want to determine who's your reader. Okay, so I'm just going to read from one of the many documents that I have to refer to for the process, and I can put the links to these as well in the chat afterwards. But here's some tips for finding your book's audience. So to help you answer, who is my audience? Who are my readers? Who's my target market? Because don't forget, many of you are going to be writing books that are business oriented. They're built for your brand to expand and amplify your influence. Some of you are writing books about your own story. You've got books of poetry, you've got books of fiction, but however you want to look at your particular book, it's a brand. You are your brand, and you have to know who it is that you want to communicate that brand to. Okay, so some of the tips for finding your audience. Okay, who is your most likely book audience? Think about who would be interested in the content of your book. Visualize who they are, what they look like. Your author brand, such as your book cover, your writing style, your font size, and other components will help dictate who your audience is by attracting certain people. So you should use these elements to define who your primary audience will be. When your audience feels as if you're speaking to them, you are more likely to convert them into readers or customers, right? A second tip, expand your target audience. It's also important to consider secondary markets. Those are markets that are not the most obvious, but who would also be interested in your book. For example, a children's book written to help kids manage anger would have a primary audience of children and a secondary audience of parents, educators, therapists, or others working with children. As tempting as it might be to think the parents would be your primary audience, children don't usually buy their own books, avoid overthinking the process and focus in on who will be reading the book. Try to come up with at least 5 markets for your book, a primary market and 4 secondary ones. A third tip, identify books that are similar to yours. Now, I know that sounds a little backwards because everyone wants to think that their book is absolutely unique. And of course, it is unique to you. It's your voice, it's your story, it's your composition, it's everything about your book is unique to you, except that it's not a bad thing at all if somebody else is writing about your subject. Why? Because that proves to you that you have an interest market out there in what it is that you're teaching, right? So take the time to research other books that would be in the same category, the same genre or niche. Search for established and top-selling books within the category and make a list of the titles and authors. Once you recognize who your competition is, and I never think in terms of competitiveness, it's just not great energy, but at the end of the day, these are people that are also out there in your genre. It may be easier for you to pinpoint your potential readers because chances are you share the same target audience, millions and millions and millions of readers. Another tip, look at social media. Okay, now that you've identified and established the top selling books within your genre, look at who's following them. on social media. Don't be surprised how much information can be gained by looking at the interactions in posts. Keep an eye out for the demographics, the trends, and other habits. Another strategy for social media is to connect with groups and online communities that have shared interests. I know a lot of you already do that. Run a search on Facebook for groups who are interested in books similar to yours. So as an author, an independent author, because even if you're published by major publishing houses, trust me, they all expect you to do your own marketing. They all expect, and media and everybody who's in the promotional world expect authors to be in touch with their own self-promotional funnel. They want to know that you know exactly what you're talking about. So, you know, becoming familiar with social media, these are not things you all jump out and do tomorrow, but these are just different ways of figuring out exactly who's going to be reading your book. Okay, and you know, Google searches and all of that is, you know, typical ways of finding out who your audience is. So W1 is my who. So you can see here, you can interactively write in this document. Okay, do I have everybody still following me? I'm just going back to make sure that you're all there because I can't see you when I share my screen. Okay, I'm going back. Is there any questions? No questions? Okay, let's carry on. So your second part of your W5, your second most important question is your what. What will you write about? You probably had many inspirational thoughts that may have led to a place of feeling overwhelmed because you just have so much to write, you don't know where to begin. Some of my own clients initially believed they didn't have enough content to fill the pages of a manuscript, but after working together, we changed the false perception pretty quickly. Are you resisting writing about a certain topic because you want to avoid the judgment of others? Do you think you will have enough content to fill the page? Well, there's a whole bunch of research that you can do out there about what to do if you don't know what to write about. So many of you here have a book, you know what you're writing about, but one of the ways to figure out a little bit of clarity on what it is you want to write about, you can take a look in searches and find out what's the hot topic out there right now. You know, is there anything in your expertise? Is there anything in what you do that connects with something out there that's a hot topic? I have a client right now writing about cannabis, right? She's in the industry, but the industry is sorely lacking in education and people in the know. Well, she's in the know. So she wants to get a book out and get it out fast because there's so much to teach about the industry that people are just ignorant to. It's new. So find an industry or find something. If you're not sure what to write about, you can get out there and take a look at what's really going on right there. Another way to do it is teach your readers how to do something. So if you have an expertise in just about anything, you can teach your readers the how-tos of what it is that you know. Check out your competitors, right? What are other people writing about? And if you have a niche market, let's say you're writing about something specific like PTSD, for example, you want to go out there and see what other people are writing about. You want to take notes. You want to be observing what other people's what they find important to teach. And that has nothing to do with plagiarizing, copying. That has nothing to do with anything like that. It has to do with pulling inspiration from other people who are in the same community as you. And it's really important because I get inspired by people in my genre all the time. I'm always listening, I'm always subscribing, I'm always getting their emails, and every once in a while they'll be writing something, I'll say, wow, that's a great idea. I think I'm gonna try something similar to that because it felt really good to receive it, so I figure people would like to receive it from me. Okay, so more on what do you want to write about? Write a sequel to what you've already written. If you've written a book of poetry, write another one. If you've written a book that has a whole bunch of interesting characters in it, like your first novel, write a sequel, write another one. Continue, you know, with your characters. You can write about your biggest mistake. People are always looking to recover from adversity. People are always looking for other people who can identify with them and their story. And it's through our our mistakes, or when we go off road every once in a while and we have so much to learn, and then we have so much to teach. Teaching other people by using your own example, getting really vulnerable about things that haven't gone so well for you, but you want to share that with other people so that they can learn, and more importantly, they know they're not alone. And then a lot of people in books, and I encourage it, if you're writing a book and you're writing it on a topic, interview other people in your genre. Use other people's credibility as part of your book. So this all falls under the category of like, what am I going to put in my book, right? What am I going to write about? Okay. W3, where? Where am I going to find my content? I've had these conversations many times, and it's really interesting because often the conversation starts with, I have no idea what I'm going to write about. And then I look at the person's bio that I'm speaking to, because I've gotten to know them a little bit through a discovery process. And I say, wow, but you've been speaking in front of audiences for years. You've given these dynamic presentations at work. You've given, keynote addresses. You've got all these slides. You've got all of these, you have all this journal writing. You have all of these different presentations that you can repurpose. So what happens sometimes is you've got all that content that you repurpose into a book, or authors write the book and repurpose the content into presentations. So if you want to go in the speaking circuit, you've already got content. As a matter of fact, I have authors that aren't even finished their book, but they're so sure of the first 3 chapters that they go out and they do their seminars based on those first 3 chapters of the book, knowing the rest is coming, and then market that book as a forthcoming book based on 3 chapters when the rest aren't even completely out on the page yet. And that is a really great idea, because you're building momentum, you're building an audience for your book, and you're gaining credibility as a forthcoming author. Perfectly legitimate, and I encourage that as well. So where will you find your content? Well, I remember Ricky Gervais, if you know him, British comedian, I love him. And he has a really great YouTube video, and I refer to it in this document. Actually, when you get it live, you can probably, I think it's connected to the link. In any case, a short version of the story is that when he was a kid, he just did terrible in school, and his teacher used to make him do compositions, and he was terrible at them, never knew what to write about, right? So he used to write about all of these stories that were just so outlandish and so outrageous, and his teacher used to come in every time and give him an F. And so he decided to teach his teacher a lesson, that he was going to follow his mom, okay, his ma, who was a scullery maid, and she worked in other people's homes cleaning toilets. And so he thought, I'm going to teach this teacher a lesson. I'm going to walk around behind my mother for a day, and I'm going to write about this. And he submitted a composition about that experience. And he described the smell of the house his mother was cleaning, the smell of the lilac. He described the wallpaper. He described, the worn out, tattered tablecloths and the smell of antiseptic and ammonia. And his composition came back with an A+, right? Because the teacher had given him this incredible advice. Write about what you know. And it's always what people think. They try to grasp for things to write about. Write about what you know. You know a lot, right? And if your imagination is for characters in fiction, you've got more imagination than you know what to do with. So where will you find your content? Go with what you know. Go with what's familiar. Go with what you can teach to other people. Okay? So W4 is when? Hang on, I think I'm at W4. Yes, you're when. When will you publish your book? So that's kind of a loaded question because it really depends on where you are in your publishing journey. So when somebody comes to me without a manuscript, they're just starting out or they have a little bit of content, I usually look at a 6-month window because I know that there's so many different delays that are out of our control and some that are in our control, and even the ones that are some of our inner control get pushed aside because, you know, life happens, and in our best of intentions things go off by a week here and they go off by a week here, and that's perfectly fine because that's the journey that you're going to take. But sometimes authors have a specific date in mind, and it's an anniversary or it's a date that's important to them. So then we begin with the end in mind, right? We begin with that date and then we reverse engineer it. Then we work backwards, okay? And what's really important about this part is it falls under the commit category, which is the first of the 5 pathways pillars. Commit, write, design, promote, and publish. Those are the 5 categories that you're going to travel through the writing of your book. So the commitment category is, man, if you want to publish it by a certain day, and I can tell you it's within a 4 to 6 month window, depending on where you're at, then your commitment level has to be spot on. You have to know that all of the pieces have to be right in line, and I create a whole timeline for authors so that they know exactly when everything is happening. So making a decision means you put your pin on that map and you decide that you're working toward a specific date to gift your book to the world. This date will be carefully considered because the journey is fluid and there are many moving parts. But with the know-how you'll have, you will want to allow for a 6-month window if you have not started to write, to be sure that each part of the Formula 5, which is the 5 pillars, is completed with ease. So choose your publishing date and you'll have made your commitment. Okay, so that's figuring out when. And you just have to talk to me. We can get all of that straightened out about the when, because I know some of the moving parts that are going to happen for the middle part that, you know, most of my clients aren't aware of. Okay. And number 5, last but perhaps the most important question of all, is your why, right? Why do you want to write your book? Why do you want to publish your book? And for many like me, I had dreamed of writing a book from the time I was a kid. So maybe you want to write a book because you've overcome a traumatic experience and you know you need to write a book to grow. Many authors believe it's the reader who takes the journey, but in fact, it's the author who gains by writing. The transformational experience is extraordinary. The challenge and what holds many back is the vulnerability that's essential for the author to connect with the reader. This takes great courage to share times of struggle with the world. And likewise, fiction authors feel the vulnerability about their imagined world and worry about judgment by others. Why does your why matter? Because your motivation is as important, if not more important, than your action. So Napoleon Hill says, your why must truly belong to you. Your why is the purpose behind your action and your primary motivation for accomplishing your goal or tasks at hand. If your goal is imposed by outside forces, it will take loads of willpower to reach it. On the other hand, if your goal comes from your deepest passion, purpose, and desire, it will never seem like drudgery. Well, I could take, a lesson or two from Napoleon Hill. So your why, okay? So writing a book is an evolutionary process, but when you take the time to examine the mindset elements above, you'll be in a position to understand the clearer overall picture of where to find the next signpost on your roadmap. So I'll stop sharing here. So the reason why all this is so important is because, as you can imagine, if you've got your who, what, where, when, and why mapped out, clear as day in front of you, how can you imagine really off-roading? Now you have clarity. You know exactly where you're going to get your content. You know what you're writing about. You know who you're aiming at. You know who your readers are. You know where you're getting all of your information from. You know exactly when you want to kind of target your publishing for, and you know why you're doing it. Okay? If you answer those 5 questions, and if you use the form that I'm giving you, and you map it out for yourself, even if you think you already know, you will crystallize it down to the point where you're going to want to go sit down and write, because you're going to get so excited because now you know what you didn't know. Does that make sense? I see nodding heads. Okay. So I'm going to just, I'm going to unmute and let's have a little bit of sharing back and forth and ask any questions. See if there's anything that you need to understand that you don't understand. Anybody want to start? I'm unmuting you.
I'm going to keep myself muted just because of the kids. When I need to say something, I'll unmute myself, okay?
That's perfect.
Thank
perfect.
you.
There you go. Okay. So any thoughts, any shares? Wanda's excited.
Oh, yes.
That's good.
I'm excited. Can I share? Does anyone want to talk? Because I don't want to always take over the show here all the time.
Go Wanda.
Okay. Why I'm so excited is because on March 4th, I handed in my book to Carolyn, and the next stage is getting the design of the book cover. I was so excited to get introduced with I saw what he had done with Deetra and I believe Joanne Sanders. Is that her name? Joanne is her name? And
Jeannie Souders. Jeannie.
Yeah. So seeing that other people have already got where I want to be is very exciting, because I never thought in a million years I'd ever write a book. So having to, thank you, Deetra, having to get to that step, I have been on cloud 9 since March 4th. And I don't think I've ever been this excited or happy about sharing something that was so dark and secretive that I thought, but really it is therapeutic. It's sharing to the world, and I'm not alone. And having to be part of these web classes helps me. So my next question is, okay, so now that I handed it in, we're going to be going through each week. When I opened up my certificate, just want to show everybody. Hello.
Copyright.
Thank you. The lady at the Canada Post was in awe that I was publishing a book. But seeing her reaction, this is one person. It hasn't even got out yet. When you mentioned there on your little thing, try to promote it before it's even done. I've been doing that. The moment I received the certificate, I've been telling everyone my title of the book. I'm sharing it. And it's not even done. It's not even edited. It's not even, I don't even know what the book is going to look like. But I had a nap today. Jenny, I did have a nap. I was thinking, I was so exhausted from all the excitement. And believe me, it can take a lot of energy. I woke up at 3:30 with out of the clear blue, and I said, I made it. New York Times. Maybe it's constantly on my mind because I'm constantly saying I'm New York Times bestseller. I'm New York Times bestseller. Oh my God, I'm in Quebec and I made New York Times bestseller. Oh my gosh, I'm visualizing it, but I feel like it's now. And when you
have to feel like it's now. See,
and it's working, but it's working because the right people are coming to me.
You know what you might want to do? Go get a copy of the New York Times. Go to the bestsellers list. Okay.
Oh, I did that. I even have an email.
Okay, and
I know one step ahead, saying I need that email.
Take a tab and put it over the one at the top.
Yeah.
And put your name on it, and then have that in front of you. Just keep these things in front of you, because there's a neurocircuitry that changes in your brain. And those of you who hop on the Sunday AM calls with Pazit and I know we talk about this side of things every week. But the neurocircuitry actually changes in your brain through repetition, because your subconscious mind doesn't know what's real and what's real. But it takes its direction from what you put on the screen of your subconscious mind. So your job is to just ignore the reality and to focus on what you imagine your reality to be. Now, if you do that consistently, repeat it, give yourself visual clues, because we think in pictures, your body will prepare itself for the experience in advance of the experience. And Dr. Joe Dispenza says it all the time, neurons that fire together, wire together. You want to repeat. And most people don't do that part. They repeat maybe a day or two, then they fall off. Then they come back a few weeks later. Then they do it again.
It's called
focus. You have to do it every day.
I find when you focus on what you want, you will receive it. I mean, I guess you know the copy of my cover page. Now, I mean, Stephen has to adjust, but if you notice,
No, he has to design. He will design it from scratch. That's what happens
exactly.
during
But you
that.
notice on the top of my cover that I sent you, I wrote New York Times bestseller. I wrote it because I declared it, and
You
it's not
did?
even done.
You did it from the beginning. I have no doubt.
Well, God bless
I
you.
don't have any doubt. I see the big
That's
picture.
why I love you, because I think when I tell my family I'm going to be New York Times, it's going to be this, and I declare everything, my family just rolls their eyes like, oh my God, there she goes again. I'm like, and I tease them. I'm like, I'm going to make you guys eat your words, all 5 of them.
So I'm going to tell you what you want to do to make a very small adjustment in your vocabulary, okay? Because you're talking in the future tense.
That's what I got to work on.
You're talking in, you're going to be a New York Times bestseller. So the difference with acting as if, okay, is to get yourself out of the future, because the future never comes. You want to say to yourself, I am so happy and grateful now that I am a New York Times best-selling author. And then imagine, pick a scene out of that. Like, you hear about it. What's the first thing you do?
I'm on the social in Toronto.
Pardon?
I'm on this social with the other women promoting my New York Times bestseller.
So imagine that event. So then when you're doing your as if visualizing, imagine that event. Now, when you close your eyes, you want to imagine it in all its color. So one of the examples that was taught to me a long time ago was close your eyes. First of all, you have to relax to do these things, right? You cannot be on the go, and you have to find a time and a place where you can sit and you can get into the quiet, because your body goes into a different brain state when it's calm. And you want to get as calm as you can, because that's when, like, your mind while you sleep is in theta, and your subconscious mind is wide open. But it also mimics that state when you're in a really calm state. So whoever you listen to who talks about visualization, they're all going to tell you the same thing, because it's the way it must be done for it to actually work, is to get completely calm. And then one of the examples I was given a long time ago is, okay, close your eyes, and I've put a ladder in front of you. Okay, so pretend we're sitting in the same room together, and I put a ladder in front of you. Your eyes are closed. You can't see anything. Now, I'm going to ask you to get up, and I want you to feel what it feels like to get out of your chair. I want you to walk over to the ladder, and I want you to put your first foot on the first step. Then I want you to get up your second foot onto the first step. Then I want you to put your hands on the ladder and get your next foot up and your next foot up. And I want you to keep climbing it till you sit at the top of the ladder, and then you can look down at me. If you do that exercise, you'll understand what it means to feel your way into your visual reality. So, for example, when I put myself on the beach before I had a place on the beach, I would visualize myself, and if anyone had a camera on me while I was visualizing, they'd probably, put me right into the slammer or something, I don't know. But I would sit there visualizing myself at the beach, and I would actually be having conversations with people that were walking by. I would say to myself, oh my gosh, it's so great. Tomorrow night I'm going to be able to go pick the kids up from the airport. They're going to come and visit. We're going to have a barbecue on Saturday night. We're going to invite so-and-so over, and the weather's supposed to be great, and I'm feeling it, and I'm smelling it, and I'm tasting it, and I'm right there. Well, what do you think happened?
It happened.
It all happened exactly that way. And I remember sitting on the beach in August, and the thought came to me as I was sitting on the chair, and I went, oh my gosh, I can't wait till tomorrow when I pick up the kids at the airport. Oh my God, it's the same words. I've been here before in my imagination. That's how powerful that exercise is. So that's why I'm asking you to consider making the switch from I'm gonna be to I am You're going to feel what that event feels like. You're going to put yourself at the event. You're going to know what you're wearing. You're going to be shaking hands. You're going to be saying, thank you for your congratulations. All of those things, you're going to feel them. And you're going to do it every single day and every single day. And you will be there.
Gotcha.
That's how it works.
And you know what's funny? Before even meeting you, I used to always do that. But don't know what
you
happened.
did it unconsciously, Wanda. That's what most of us do. We do these things, but we're not really aware of how all the dots connect. We know there are things we need to do. We have the knowledge, but we don't really apply them in the ways that there is a way, you know, to put yourself and your imagination to work for you. But most people, they just don't do all the steps. They do one or two, and they wonder why they're still stuck in the same place, because they didn't actually do all the steps and they didn't feel their way into it. So becoming an author is exactly the same process. Well, and my burn was giving my book to Deepak Chopra. So I could imagine myself giving the book to him at the Chopra Center, and I was going to the Chopra Center. So that was my 3-month, get the book done, get it published, get it like done, because I wanted to have a physical copy. And I sat in my hotel room at the Chopra Resort at the Omni La Costa, and I wrote this huge note to him of gratitude. My book is about gratitude. I wrote a whole front page note to Deepak about how grateful I was to be here and for his teaching and his inspiration, and that I was gifting him a copy of my book. So whatever the burn is for you, whatever it is for you that you can feel yourself doing in connection with your goal, then you've got to do the work. And doing the work is up here. Okay, if you've got it up here, the rest of it, I didn't have the whole book written in my head. I just knew I wanted to give my gratitude book that wasn't written yet to Deepak in 3 months. Well, what do you think happened after that? I took massive action, because that's how that works.
Yeah. Well,
right?
If I can sort of, I'm always impressed with you, Wanda. I bow to your brilliance. I got to tell you. But anyway, you were talking about how like you're intentionally like sort of promoting the book. Things happen even when you don't do it intentionally. And I was explaining to Carolyn that I'm beginning to realize my potential because I'm doing it unintentionally. So when I set the intentions, when I get to that point, every day I do a little bit more. Like for instance, I'm just talking to people just in general. They're like, hey, Jenny, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I got a meeting with Carolyn, or I got to do this, like for whatever, or I got to talk to my illustrator. I don't even think about it anymore. And I have about 5 people now saying, well, let me know and I'll buy your book. And like, I didn't even approach it as anything like that, as promotion of the book or whatever. They're like, I got an 8-year-old, I'll buy it. I got a 6-year-old, I'll buy it. I got a, you know, and I'm like, but you don't even know what it's about. They're like, I know you and you're funny. It's going to be good. So I'm like, all right. And then, you know, I'm cheeky out of my mouth because I'm still working on self-image and all that. And I'm like, you should come to the launch. And they're like, when is it? I'm like, I'll let you know. So it's interesting, you know?
Well, the next thing we do after we get your illustrations finalized is we're going to set the date for the launch.
Yes, not July 4th.
No.
No.
Not July 4th, but we'll set the date for the launch. These are all parts of the process that, you know, when you do them in the background, and if you're doing them with me, then you know you're going to be guided. You're never going to be left by yourself wondering, what the heck do I do next? Right? Because that's part of the process. That is the journey. And that's the most important part. Like, I love the Christmas day. For me, the book launch day is Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Right? This book comes out. It's this big, huge gift to the world. I get so excited because I know there's one more book out there on the planet that is going to, I mean, just imagine it for a second. Your book, and Deirdre knows what this is about, your book is in the hands of another person. As a matter of fact, I have to tell you, Deirdre, my daughter was over yesterday, and she says, I'm looking for a book. So she read yours. She read the back of yours. My daughter's 20. And she said, oh, this looks like a great book. I said, take it. I said, it is a great book. Right? So imagine your book going into the hands of a reader that's on the planet right now, walking around, who you've not met, who doesn't know you yet, but that's going to buy your book, take it to their home, sit in their favorite chair, and they're going to read it. Like, what could be better? What could be a better why than wanting to inspire another soul on the planet. Right?
Or just entertain them.
Pardon?
Or just entertain them.
Entertain them. And yeah, I mean, you have kids, you have a whole series of kids books. I mean, you know, you have a character that you've been wanting to bring to the world for a very long time. Now you're getting to do that. I mean, that's pretty special stuff. Right? So you want to really feel good about what you're doing. You want to really feel good about the journey that you're on. And those days where it feels kind of like, I don't know. You got to not focus on the reality of today. You have to use some of those tools and you have to believe it in, right? You have to believe it forward. You have to know that what you're doing matters enough to get you out of bed in the morning to make you want to go and write that book, right? So that's really important. Use the tools in this document. It will really give you a crystallized version of exactly what your book is about. And you get to play around in that a little bit, but finding out who exactly your book is marketed to, like who's your reader? That's probably the toughest one for people to identify. Because you say, well, I don't know who's going to read my book. Well, take a look at your content, take a look at your subject matter, take a look at who you would like to read your book. What's that market look like to you? Because you're going to get to the stage where you're going to do some promotion. And Wanda's, promotion before publishing, we will get to that. I'm PR promotion lifetime. Okay, so there's timing to all of that. We want to make sure that we don't waste any opportunity of promoting anything before we have a call to action. And that's what the pre-sale campaign is all about, right? Deirdre has done one of those where you want to give people a place to pre-purchase your book so that you have a few sales like in the bag for your launch day. And that's just to do some additional promotion and whatnot. So let me just see if there's any comments, any questions. There we go. Okay, anybody else? Gabriella, there you are.
Hello. So I did have a question, but I also had a comment. So the question is it possible that when you're in the midst of everything that your original mind of how you wanted to write a book can change as you're writing it?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. So I'm not going crazy. That's a good thing to know.
No, it's an evolving process. You will never have at the end of the book writing process what you started with.
Okay. And just to go back to what Jenny said, I already been promoting my book. I didn't even realize it, but I've been telling my customers last week. So I have a few customers who live in Ottawa, who've moved here from Nova Scotia, who have family in British Columbia. And I've been just saying, so when my book is ready, we're going to go to your hometown. We'll fly out wherever you live, and we're going to do a book launch. You're going to get all your friends and family, and we're going to have this big party.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. I'm on it.
Because you're in the energy of it. You're already in it. Like you're there. That's why, you've taken your time. You've kind of, pulled back and gone forward and pulled back and tried to recreate because you really wanted to figure out exactly what am I writing this book about. That's
exactly.
your what. Okay.
Yeah.
We had an idea, and then it's going to change and it's going to evolve, and it's not going to stay the same. I mean, it has to shift and change because you're changing throughout the process. I mean, if you choose a book and you write about it because you know what it is and you got it all written in 2 months, which, I don't think 2-3 months, it takes time, right? Most books take more time because they've, if you were to actually ask an author when they started writing their book, if they were honest, they would tell you when the idea first came to them. It could be years ago.
Yeah.
Before the seed was planted. But then through momentum, they start like getting poked about it, right? Because if the idea for writing the book came to you, it's yours. The universe is waiting for you.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be left alone until you actually write it. But that doesn't mean that the original idea that you were going to write is going to stay the same idea.
Okay, cool. Yay.
Okay.
Evolution is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're evolving, right? As a person, you're growing as a person. So your perspective of what you're writing and the ideas that come to you, that's going to change. And that's why a lot of authors, they'll publish a book, right? And then a few years later, they've gone through transformational work themselves, and they look back at the book and they go, wow, I need to write another one, because I've learned so much since that one. I have to write another book because I'm going to bring what I was, writing about up to date.
Well, I like the W's, yeah, because I think now I understand better about who's going to read my book and why. Like, that really helped me a lot with this call this evening. Thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. And download, I'll put the link a couple of times in here, because once you join, when you join the call, if the link was before you joined, you won't actually see it. So for Patricia, I've got the link to the document that I was teaching from earlier, which is called the Author Success GPS. It's a 26-page interactive PDF. So if you click on that link right there, that will take you to my lead page. You just have to put your name and the email, and you can just download the document and use it. Use it to really crystallize what it is that you want your book to be about, and change it as often as you want to change it.
Awesome. Yay.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. Welcome. Thank you. Okay, anybody have any questions, comments, observations, things they're challenged with? Deirdre got stuck in revisions.
That was for the first book.
Yeah, it's not ready yet. It needs more work. And yeah, yeah.
First copy was written in grade 7. That was a long, long time ago.
Yeah, well, there is a lot. I mean, you wrote a book of fiction that was what, 100 and how many thousand words? 180.
Oh yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah. So Deirdre has a spectacular book, but it's like, close to 500 or not 500 pages. So that's a revision.
Yeah.
That's a process. These are some of the processes. I think I'm going to do a class on that too. I'll break down those 5 areas, and I'll kind of really go into a lot more detail about we did editing already. We covered the editing process, but maybe I'll try to get my guys on, or one of them on, Steve, maybe, and if not, I can certainly, talk to it, the whole design process and what's involved there, and what's involved when you get into promotion and all of those things. Because there is, like when I say it's a 6-month process, it's not because it takes 6 months to write a book. It's because by the time you write the manuscript, we craft it, we do your back cover copy, we do your overview for your book, we get all the platform done for you on KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. Then when we get into, okay, we got to have the book edited now, we got to go back and forth for like a 3-week period of edits. You get the edit done, and then we got to take it over to get your covers done, your front cover, your back cover, your spine, and your spine is dependent on the inside of your book, and we choose the dimensions for your book, right? We got to choose whether you want a 5x8, a 6x9, a 7x10. There's only about 30 other ones in between. Which dimension size you want. And then we design the interior of your book so it looks like a book, right? With the fonts you like and the design that you like. One of the ones we're working on now for Samantha has got butterflies. And when you turn the pages, my designer Steve has the butterflies flying across the book.
Oh, I want that.
It's delicious. I love it. So, these are all parts of the design process. I know in Deirdre's book, Steve put the forest that appears on the front cover. He's got the forest at the bottom of all the pages.
Yeah, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah, he brought the woods from your cover into your inside pages, exactly. So, and he'll take any of the components, like Natalie loved butterflies as well, and she had an image that she wanted, and Steve just made sure the butterflies were where she wanted her butterflies. So this is the design process. That doesn't take a weekend, right? That's also takes back and forth a couple of times to figure out, we want to, our expression in our office is, did we nail it, right? If it's a cover design or the interior, like, did we nail it? That's the goal. And, you've got a designer who's trying to get inside your head, and you're trying to tell him exactly what you want. Eventually, we get to exactly what we want. And then you've got to put the two together, and we've got to get that uploaded onto your Kindle account. Then we got to get it sent to you as an author copy proof, which is your first unboxing. right? When your proof copy comes to you, that's the first time you see your book in print. It's the first time you see your name on the front cover of your book. Your first time you see it together as a book. So that's an experience. You just got your copyright. That's an experience, right? So you get your book, you go through it with a red pen. You make sure that there's no commas out of place. There's no double periods. There's no mistakes. And all your T's are crossed, I's are dotted. Anything goes back to him. He makes any corrections. Then we upload it to Amazon. Then we wait for it to populate internationally. We do your pre-sale campaign. We have your launch date, and you're a published author. That's it. Sure. Right? And then if you're working with me, all I do is guide that along and make sure that we're completely and totally on track. And if we have to adjust, Jenny knows we have to adjust, we adjust. Just that simple. We just move the dates around, but we make sure that every piece of that puzzle is taken care of so that when you get to the publishing date, you're ready, right? You've got everything, it's all done, and you're ready to go out into the world, and then you decide what you want to do. Do you want a business beyond your book? Well, we do that too. You know, we create whatever you want to create in your business, in your life, in your business, however it is you want to take that book out into the world. That's a really fun conversation to have.
And I think just for me, and I was saying this to you this morning, Carolyn, not in the same words, but even if I just sort of step back and look at my Facebook, and like, because a couple of you have friended me and stuff, and Carolyn and stuff, like when I look back to 3 years ago, who was on my Facebook, and the people who are on my Facebook now, and the people who know me now, I'm like, it's a different dynamic and it's a different world. And I can't even know what I'm trying to express. I guess it's like, it doesn't have to, I mean, it is about the book launch and the book and the, you know, like, but it's just this shift in the world. Like,
well, it's who you're becoming, Jenny.
No, I know, but it's like, you know, there someday someone's going to say, oh, you know, I love Wanda Peel's book. And I'll be like, oh, actually I'm friends with her. Or, you know, Carolyn Flower, she's an amazing publisher. Well, yeah, she's my publisher. So yeah, I know. You know what I mean? Like, it'll be like, oh, you know, Patricia and Sharon, sorry, Sharon, did I say that right? You know, it'll be like, oh yeah, Doug Dane. Oh yeah, I know him. Like he's, you know, it's like all of these incredible people. And when I started with this group of incredible people, like I always put myself outside of it. It's like, I saw myself as the person looking in, and as time is going on, I'm realizing I'm actually in the group as opposed to being the one looking in going, I want to be cool like them. Yeah. And I'm beginning to realize that people are seeing me and they're like, no, we like you. Come here. You know? And it's those little things where you look at your Facebook and you go.
And don't forget, you're the one doing the work. You're the one taking the action. The reason why you've got that circle of influence around you now is because you've taken a step out from the person who you were. That person who you were was not taking action on her dream. See what happens when you take action on any dream, whether it's writing a book or running a marathon or whatever it is, you start training for a marathon, you're going to start, you know, the people that you're going to hang with, they're going to be a different quality of people. They're going to be people with aspirations and dreams and passion and desire and goals. There's no better circle to be with than people moving forward like that.
It might even be something as casual as we don't even realize it. Like, I have family in Ottawa. I mean, I could randomly be in Byward Market or something and run into you or Wanda because Montreal's so close. Or I could be at Mount Royal and, you know, like our paths could cross. And it's like, I don't know. It's just cool.
It's still good. I feel really, really good about it.
It's not a very profound, but it's just cool. That's my quote. You can quote me tonight. I've come off of a 15-hour day. I'm exhausted. So that's it.
It's recorded, so we have it for posterity.
Yeah. It's just cool. It's, yeah.
I love it. I love hearing everyone's stories. I love people sharing their stories. I love watching them because I watch them from here and I see them all kind of intertwining. And, you know, these are all people in my circle, in my client circle, and they're all starting to get to know one another and they're planning different events with one another and they're all getting together. There's nothing that makes me happier because everyone is now part of this family of co-creators. because you're all creating your reality in real time. You're all going for your goals in real time, and you're all taking action in real time. That's what it's all about. That's what living your life is all about. You know, when you have a goal, yes, Wanda says divinely connected. Absolutely. We are all divinely connected. So, you know, we just happen to all be working toward the goal of writing a book. But once you get to know people and you start to, you know, be championing each other, that's the other thing that I love, that everyone's championing one another. You know, one of my author clients has got a book launch and everyone's congratulating them. I mean, that's fantastic. What could be better? Right? So that's a really good thing. And then everyone feels the spirit of togetherness and that they can kind of conquer the world, you know, and you can, but it's always good to have a tribe, right? To be running the roads with, because writing can be a very lonely sport, right? You can feel very solitary. So my whole intention was to grow a community, the Pathways Publishing community, that had support. You know, I'm there to support, but then each other, we're all there to support one another so that we never actually feel like we're on this journey by ourselves, because that's all part of the mindset piece. We want to know that we're supported. We all want to feel like we're excelling and growing and transforming. So if there's anything you're going to be guaranteed to do through a book writing process is change, growth, and transformation. And most of us are called to write a book simply because that's where we need to go. That's part of our journey, right? So fantastic. Does Sharon or Patricia, do you want to say a few words or let us know what you're doing or what you're currently involved in, as far as you have a writing project going on or you're thinking about one? Sharon?
Yes, hi. I have been kind of I've been wanting to write a book. I have had a couple of titles for it, but my book is based on my trial that transformed my life. And that's what I want to write about. I am so grateful to be a part of this group because I have been trying to do it alone and not know, like it's my first time writing. So I have uncertain of what to do, where to go, how to write it and stuff like that. So
well, you're in
I'm
very
really
good company.
I just been writing, thank you, Lord, for leading me to this amazing group, because I get your invites every week and I just never join the group. Something has always come up. Today I said, come hell or high water, I'm getting on that Zoom call. I don't care. And I made it with 3 sick kids. So thank you and I'm just so grateful that you were so warm and welcoming. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And come back. I mean, I'm here
every
Wednesday.
Absolutely.
Most of us are here every Wednesday. And this is and it's a safe space. You know,
thank you. Yes.
Safe to share. So, and then you'll get the replay. You'll get that sent to you. So you'll have it if you want to go back and listen to it, or if there's anything you missed. Then you can certainly listen to it. And if you register for this and you can't be here, you will get the replay. That's why I ask people to register for it. At least they'll get the replay if they can't be here live.
Thank you.
If you do want to have a conversation with me at any time about kind of exploring how that book process might look for you, I'm easily hook up on a discovery call with you, and we'll just chat about it. And we'll,
I would love that, because I have a little book of quotes I'm putting together. I have a whole bunch of daily journal writings that I want to put, and it's just,
So good. That's great. Keep that up and know that it's coming. Whatever the book is meant to be is now, it's in its path now, and you're taking action. So now you're giving yourself the benefit of getting around like-minded people. So that's all really counts. It counts for your mindset.
It does.
It counts to make you feel as if you're making some progress towards your goal, right?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Well, welcome and welcome back. And if you have any questions, I'll send you a link to a call with me, and we'll do that at your convenience. Okay.
I would appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Okay. You're very welcome. Okay. Patricia, welcome to Patricia.
Hi there.
Hi.
You can hear me now?
I can.
Okay, good, good. I'm not too savvy. I'm creative, but techie, not too good.
That's okay. You're in good
Anyhow,
there too. No problem.
Judy McDonald referred me to you. And so I thought, oh, I've got to plug in, but I wasn't sure what Central Time was. So fortunately, I guess you had already started, but I caught you anyhow.
Okay, so our time is at Eastern Daylight Time. EDT.
Right. Now, yeah, because I live in Saskatchewan, which is Central Time. So
you're 2 hours. What time is it now? Is it 7:07?
Yes.
So you're 2 hours behind.
2 hours behind.
That's
So
correct.
if you start at 8, then I start at 6.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Good. Good. Well, then I was a little late getting on. I thought I'd experiment to see if I could open it up, and you were already on, so that was good.
That's good. Well, listen, Patricia, I will send you the replay, so you will see the whole call. And then next week, you'll be on the list to get the, like I send out, are you on Facebook? Yes, because I think you came to my page today. I'll friend you on Facebook if it goes back up. I know it was down all day. I'll friend you, and that way I'll put you in a group. I have a messenger chat for all the Webclass Wednesday tribe. I'll put you in there, and then you'll get all the invites, and you'll know exactly what the topic is. So what I do is so I'm here every Wednesday from 8 till 9 or wherever we go. And every second Wednesday, I have what's called the Author Spotlight Success Series. So I interview one of my authors who's published a book, and we talk about their journey and what it felt like and all the different signposts along the way. And I have other authors in mind that are like colleagues of mine in the industry. They're not necessarily my authors, but they're contemporaries and people, that have published books like I have. So every second week there's an Author Spotlight Success, but you'll always know what we're talking about in advance.
Okay.
Okay. So tonight was a teaching call, and next week we'll have somebody on the call, and then you all get to ask them questions, and it's kind of neat. Everyone likes those calls as well. So
okay.
So tell us, do you have a book that you've written or you're in the process of thinking about writing?
I've actually sent my first book, and probably, I'm not too sure, my only book.
Yeah.
But it's my biography, and I have it now into an editor.
Mm-hmm. Good.
And it's been in the process of years. And then my family didn't want me to write it. And then I sort of cringed at doing it. And then I felt really led to write it, and tried to write it with as much love as I could. But it's done. And that makes me feel good, because I believe it was meant to be written.
Absolutely. If it came to you, it's meant for you. Yeah, absolutely. So you go through the editing process, and your editor and you are back and forth in conversation?
Yes. Actually, somehow something got hung up, but we're finally doing that now. So yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Good stuff. Well, stick with us and we'll help you through. And if you want to know anything more about the next steps, because I have authors that come to me in all sorts of different levels. Some of them have their own covers. Some of them have had their, they've got their book edited. So I've got a whole team that does all of it. So we have the design, and we do the inside and the outside, and get it uploaded and take care of your Amazon and all that kind of stuff. But you and I can have a chat about that when the time comes. If you're interested in doing that, I'm happy to tell you what that looks like for you.
Okay, well, thank you, and thank you for including me.
You're welcome. Well, it's great to have you here. We like our group to grow. It's a very supportive group, so we're welcome aboard, and we hope we see you again next week at 6 p.m. your time, 8 p.m. our
Correct.
time. It's now. Do you guys change your clocks?
No, Saskatchewan doesn't.
Doesn't. Okay. Well, we do. We probably shouldn't either, but we do. So we now are on daylight savings time. So it's all good.
Right. Good. Good.
Okay. So Natalie is, probably sitting back by a palm tree, maybe with her feet in a pool, down there in St. Martin. Natalie, you're listening. I know you're listening. Do we want to see you on camera? Do you have any questions, anything to add? You're not going to have like a margarita in your hand, are you?
No, I haven't been drinking margaritas. I've been drinking beer while I'm here. How boring is that?
Oh my goodness, that's okay.
That
Nothing
is okay.
better in the nice hot sun. You've got beautiful color.
I do. The sun here has been absolutely gorgeous, and yes, I've been in the pool. I've been up to the swim up bar. It's been beautiful here.
So good. Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
I actually took today. I decided that my initial with coming down here was to spend time on my writing, because when I'm at home, I spend time with my art.
Yeah.
And I finally said today I was going to sit down and start working on more poetry. So I took today and sat on my deck, as it were, and I worked on poetry and some other writing that I've got going on. And it felt great to actually take some time and do some writing, because I miss it when I'm doing my art. So finding that balance for me is interesting.
And there's something pretty magical. I know writing Seaside is that's my currency, really. That's the best place for me. I'm just that much more, my imagination flows in and out with the tide. So I know that sitting by the sea is just so inspiring. So good for you. I'm glad you're doing it there, because then you'll remember that when you go home, and you'll be able to put yourself in that visualization of what that feels like to be in the hot sun and writing with the breeze and St. Martin. And yeah, so good.
Yeah. Yes.
So good. Well, that's great. Okay, everybody. So if I'm just going to make one more round. If anyone has any questions or anything, I think we're good. I just wanted to, I'm going to put the link again one more time. So here's the link to the Author Success GPS. You can download it. I will also include the link in the replay email that you get. So you just got to click on it. It takes you to a landing page. You put in your name and email. You're already on the list anyway. And it will take you to a thank you page and a place, and you can just download it from there. Okay. Well, thank you guys for investing your Wednesday evening once again with me. I always appreciate you. I love having you all here. I love the energy of the room. It's always so good to have everybody around the table live. So thank you so much. And I will see you all this time next week, and have a really great week. If anyone has any questions in the meantime, you know where to find me. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great night, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. Bye for now.